Good morning. This is Nancy Road discussing Chapter 8, Writing News for Digital Media. I'm laughing because this is my fourth attempt. The telephone has managed to ring 3 times while I'm trying to get this thing off the ground, so I hope this time it works. Chapter 8, Writing News for Digital Media. I'm going to summarize the chapter looking at that very last paragraph called Tomorrow's Readers, because I think that it effectively summed up everything that the entire chapter talked about. The most effective ways of using the web as your media for the news. The audience participation obviously is the big deal. And audience participation and lots of visuals. So the 4 characteristics might be that there's more showing than telling. For the audience, there's more experiencing than witnessing. I'm not entirely sure I understand what that means. But for the audience, there's also more active participation rather than being passive. And there's no question about that's occurring. Doing rather than merely reading. So I think I want to look to the New York Times digital version to give examples of these principles that are being used by the New York Times staff. And my guess is they have somebody hopping around all the time looking for new ways to involve the public, involve the readers, and really hook the readers in on, gosh, we got to look at the New York Times this morning. In the first place, the top article is being constantly updated. You can look several times during the day, and if there's any breaking news, there will be a brand new article at the top of the screen. And in addition, there's always a picture, usually a video, accompanying the first or top article. There's sometimes the in addition to the top article, there's an article of a little bit intriguing interest at the top that might not be top news, but might be something that you would want to look into further, and that changes regularly. Now, there's for those who with a short attention span who feel they don't have time to read the newspaper fully, there's always one section called an evening briefing, and then each morning there's a morning briefing, and those you can choose to go rather briefly through those. Pick up the top stories and find a link to any that you wish to investigate further. And there's almost not a single article in the whole paper that doesn't have some kind of link. And you can, in fact, even their printed, or not even printed, but their ads will have a link to find out more about the topic, or to go to the website of somebody that's selling clothes, or donate to some cause. Even the ads have that ability to link you to further information. And to catch your eye, there's a tiny crossword puzzle. So if you don't want to do a big one, there you go. You can actively choose to do a little one each day. And then there is an entire section in the paper of videos. It will change every day, and sometimes it's top news, sometimes it's a recipe, whatever they think to write a video about. And then you can always you can always get more on, or you can be alerted to a subject that you're particularly interested in. There are lists that they have to send you emails on your topics of choice. For instance, I subscribe, if that seems to be the word they use, to their articles on the Supreme Court. And that means every time there's an article in the New York Times, and sometimes I will miss them just looking at the regular paper, but sometimes if there is an article, they will send that to my email. And that's really a very nice feature if you're particularly interested in the sports, or there's, my goodness, recipes. They're big on recipes, and that's nice to pick up on your particular interest. And then, in case there's one section, in case you missed it, that were some of the top most interesting stories from the day before. There's a whole section on the most popular items, the most popular articles during the day. They really pretty much won't leave you alone. And then one huge portion of this of the paper is that on every article of interest, there's a section for making comments. And I noticed that sometimes, for instance, David Brooks, who writes an opinion page, I think weekly, he will get up to 1,000 comments on the paper. People just love to see themselves in print and in commenting, and then the paper will go through, and the paper will choose the ones the New York Times thinks are the most interesting comments, and so there's a whole section on those, and there's a whole section on articles that readers choose, and then to finish things off. An interactive way. They can effectively cut you off. If you haven't subscribed to the